Good morning, everyone. I'd now like to invite you all to stand for the official party's entrance.
Good morning and welcome to Irene McCormack Catholic College for the launch of LifeLink 2014. My name is Hayley James.
And my name is Thomas Tang, and we are the college captains. We welcome and introduce the members of our official party: Archbishop of Perth, Timothy Costello; Bishop Don Sproxton, Auxiliary Bishop for the Perth Archdiocese; Mrs. Deborah Sayce, Director of Religious Education, representing Dr. Tim MacDonald, Director of Catholic Education of Western Australia; Mr. Brett Mendes, Manager of LifeLink; Mr. Greg Russo, and Mr. James Parker from the Perth Archdiocese Office; our Principal, Mr. Robert Marshall, and Deputy Principal, Mr. John Power.
We also extend a special welcome to Ms. Bernadette Irene McCormack and Mr. John McCormack, the sister and brother of college patroness Sister Irene McCormack; Father Rainier Fernandez, priest of St. Andrew's Parish, and Father Joseph Tran, parish priest of the Whitfords Parish; Mr. John Quigley, MP for Butler; Councillor Glenys Parker, representing the Mayor of the City of Wanneroo, Ms. Tracy Roberts; Mrs. Kerry Carter, our College Board Chairperson, and other board members; the principals and students from Brighton Catholic Primary School, St. Andrew's Catholic Primary School, and Butler College; and our college staff and fellow students.
Welcome to you all, and to those watching online, happy LifeLink Day.
Responding to the needs of the poor and the vulnerable in our society and working in the service to others is what Sister Irene McCormack did. In our short history, this college community, named in her honour, prides itself on doing the same.
Please join us in beginning with two special prayers, beginning with our own college prayer, followed by the LifeLink prayer for charity.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, help us live the gospel values as exemplified by Irene McCormack. Assist us in recognising injustice and finding Irene's courage to act in the face of it. Give us her vision and passion to serve those in need. Grant us her openness and serenity to treat each day as your gift to be celebrated and shared. May we use the words of the college motto, prayer, service and justice, as the guiding light for our daily lives. Amen. Irene McCormack, pray for us.
A prayer for charity. God of mercy and compassion, we praise you for your goodness. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Fill us with the spirit of loving service as we recognize in those we meet the face of Jesus, your Son. Through the generous work of our LifeLink welfare agencies, may burdens be lifted from the shoulders of your people, and may they feel the warmth of your kindness and love. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
We now invite Mrs. Deborah Sayce, Director of Religious Education, to the podium.
Good morning. Archbishop, Bishop Don, Mr. Marshall, invited guests, staff, students here at Irene McCormack Catholic College. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of our Executive Director, Dr. Timothy MacDonald. As I speak to you, he is addressing the 200 plus staff at the Catholic Education Office because we have a staff development day today, and he sends his warmest regards in the success of this morning's proceedings. It is a privilege to be here. LifeLink is such an important activity of our Catholic Church, and it's very important that as schools we support this initiative. The launch suggests that we invite everyone to participate in LifeLink. It is an activity of the Catholic education community to support and to participate. Sometimes it's very difficult to see how we as individuals can make a difference when we hear so much about people in our community who are having a tough time. But it's important that we do support, and together we can make a difference. When as individuals it's sometimes very difficult to see what can we individually do. However, contributing collectively does amazing things. There are more than 65,000 students in our Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of Perth, and there are 7,000 teachers who support and staff the schools. The energy, the ideas and the talents of all can provide so much to so many people. Every year, LifeLink agencies assist more than 30,000 people by providing a wide range of social services. They do a wonderful job and are examples of faith in action. Archbishop, in your letter to principals about LifeLink Day 2014, you suggested arranging activities that are enjoyable. You state, be innovative, be creative and have fun. We strongly support that suggestion, and we know that fundraising activities, which are also fun, are raising wonderful ways of encouraging great participation. So to all our schools in the Archdiocese of Perth, thank you for your great support that you give to LifeLink and over the last 20 years, this being our 21st year. Keep up the good work, and as Dr. McDonald said, have some fun in the fundraising. Thank you.
We now invite Most Reverend Don Sproxton, Auxiliary Bishop of Perth and Chairman of LifeLink, to the podium.
Well, good morning and welcome to everyone here at R.M. McCormack College and St Andrew's Catholic Primary School and Brighton Catholic Primary School, and of course all the schools within the Archdiocese of Perth. Today is the Archbishop's official launch of his LifeLink Day for Schools initiative. Following the success of the wonderful launch of his LifeLink Day for Schools event, which was held at Corpus Christi College last year, we are again filming this launch and providing it's online for everyone to enjoy this LifeLink Day. I'd like to take just a few moments to share with you the story of LifeLink. In 1994, the Archbishop of Perth established the LifeLink organisation to unite and identify church-based welfare services. Many agencies had been serving the community for more than 30 years. However, most people didn't know that they were in fact church agencies. That's where LifeLink comes in. By collecting all these agencies under one banner, we communicate our message so much better. So LifeLink is not a welfare organisation. It's a fundraising and promotional arm supporting and most importantly funding the work of social service agencies in the Archdiocese. LifeLink currently helps fund many wonderful organisations which provide services and support to help the homeless, people battling drugs and other addictions, people with mental health disorders, people with intellectual or physical disability, abused women and children, the unemployed and disadvantaged, migrants and refugees, the lonely and the isolated. LifeLink supported agencies reach out to help more than 31,000 Western Australians in need each year. 31,000 people is equivalent to the entire populations of Butler, Merriwa, Ridgewood and Clarkson. In total, LifeLink agencies deliver more than $47 million to professional programs and direct services which help people in need throughout Western Australia each year. Thankfully, much of this work is funded by government grants and service contracts, and with the generous support of Lottery West. Governments recognise that community services established by the Catholic Church operate at the highest level of performance and professionalism, and are conducted in a moral, responsible and ethical manner. However, there remains a shortfall of more than $1 million each year to ensure our LifeLink agencies continue to respond positively when people reach out for help. LifeLink meets this challenge thanks entirely to the generosity of those who support our various fundraising appeals. What is LifeLink Day? It's an important day within the school's annual calendar. It is one day each year the Archbishop and I ask all of you to make a special effort to think about people in need within the community, to learn how the Church reaches out to help people right here at home and through the work of our LifeLink agencies, to participate by joining together to raise funds to help people in need, and to have fun organising some special fundraising activity in your school. Schools have embraced LifeLink Day thanks to the enthusiastic support of the Catholic Education Office, school principals and teachers. There is a far greater awareness of how the Church responds to people in need and the work of the agencies funded and supported by LifeLink. LifeLink Day is an educational and fundraising initiative. Both objectives are equally important. I wish you every success with LifeLink Day 2014, and I ask for your generous support. Before I take my seat, I'd like to share a short video presentation created by staff and students of Irene McCormack Catholic College, which captures the purpose and mission of LifeLink and the joy associated with helping and serving those in need whenever we have an opportunity to do so. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
When you try your best but you don't succeed.
Welcome.
When you get what you want but not what you need.
Welcome.
When you feel so tired that you can't sleep. Stuck in river.
Welcome guests, both here with us at Iron McCormack.
And to all those watching online, welcome. We want to tell you some good news.
Good news about LifeLink.
LifeLink was born out of the desire to spread the good news of what the Catholic Church does for those who are vulnerable and needy in our community.
So, LifeLink is an organisation, like a brand, that farms out Catholic care to those in need. We should know about this.
We should know about how LifeLink attracts funds from government and private donors just like us to be able to deliver the care needed.
LifeLink delivers the care needed.
Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
LifeLink delivers church-based welfare to people in need. So, where is the need?
Homeless, unemployed, indigenous need a hand.
Where is the need?
Hungry, aged care, broken families need help too.
Where is the need?
Victims of abuse, refugees, mentally ill all need a hand.
It's great, massive, it's a huge challenge, so many people need help.
Jesus challenged his disciples to love one another as we would hope to be treated ourselves.
We can't ignore the needs of those who are unable to help themselves, those who need a lift.
LifeLink reaches out to over 31,000 people.
31,000 Western Australians each year. That's Perth Arena Field's capacity twice.
That's a lot of people who need help.
So many people are in need, but this great need creates a great opportunity for us to respond and help.
LifeLink does not only help the people who are of the Catholic faith.
LifeLink seeks to respond immediately.
Immediately and compassionately to anyone who is in need and who reaches out for help. We see this act of reaching out as a practical demonstration of faith in action.
Demonstration of faith.
Faith in action. This means that LifeLink is as much as about helping others as living out our faith and doing as Christ taught us.
In fact, it's about recognizing Jesus in one another.
We recognize in those who need the face of Jesus, and we reach out with love.
LifeLink then is the fundraising and promotional arm which supports
and assists the work of social service agencies established by the Archdiocese of Perth, such as SHOP. LifeLink agencies reach out to 31,000 West Australians in need each year, providing over $47 million in professional programs, care and direct assistance.
But we still need to donate more than $1 million each year to ensure the LifeLink agencies can meet the need in our community.
LifeLink runs thanks to generous students, staff, businesses that don't walk past or ignore those in need.
Saint Mary MacKillop of the Cross, our saint.
Our saint said to never walk past someone in need without doing what we can to help.
So we need to respond compassionately and generously and help LifeLink continue a tradition of Catholic care in the community.
We'll try to fix you.
Thanks for watching.
I would now like to introduce Ari McCormack Catholic College's first musical performance, Alive by Empire of the Sun.
Lost my eyesight.
like to invite His Grace, Most Reverend Timothy Costello, SDB, Archbishop of Perth, for the Archbishop's address.
Thank you very much, and good morning everybody. It's great to be here. I have a text prepared that I'm going to work from, but just before I do that, I just want to say how grateful I am to everybody here in the college community for the warm welcome you've given me and Bishop Don and all of the other guests. From the moment I drove up to the front of the school and was welcomed by the principal and vice principal and some of the leaders and the school captains, it's just been a great experience. And I must say that as I was watching the video presentation, I hope it doesn't sound a bit corny, but I was feeling very proud of the fact that I happen to be the Archbishop of a place, of a diocese that can produce a school like this, which can put together not just a good quality production, but a production that's full of heart. So thanks everybody, I really am grateful to all of you. It's probably a bit redundant to say it, but it's in the text, so I'll say it anyway. We're here, of course, to launch LifeLink 2014 for the whole Archdiocese of Perth. And so in greeting everybody here gathered in the auditorium, we're out here in the undercover area, I also want to welcome everybody else who may be watching this in your own schools, from one corner of our Archdiocese to the other. I know, and you've all seen it for yourselves, that Irene McCormack College has gone to an enormous amount of trouble to prepare a special program for us today. And I'm sure that we're all going to enjoy it, or rather continue to enjoy it. On your behalf, I'd like to thank Mrs. Deborah Sace, the Director of Religious Education in the Archdiocese, for her thoughtful and encouraging words. And also Bishop Sproxton for explaining so well for us the way in which LifeLink works and all the different kinds of situations it seeks to address. I'm sure you all know this already, but it's worth highlighting nevertheless that you can't be a Christian, or at least not a very serious one, if you don't have a heart for those who are in difficulty and need a helping hand. I say this because, and this is saying something pretty obvious, to be a Christian, in the end, is to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And you can't really say that you're following him if you don't take any notice of what he said and what he did. And I feel quite comfortable in saying that to all of you gathered here this morning, and also everybody watching from their own schools, because you are all students at Catholic schools. And so you know that Jesus is at the heart of this school and of all of our schools. Irene McCormack College, like all of our other schools in the Archdiocese, is grounded in the teachings of Jesus. And one of the main tasks of the school is to help everyone connected with the school to understand Jesus as much as you can and respond to him as generously and as courageously as you can. Some of you will have already made a serious commitment to Jesus and to his church. Others among you might still be making up your minds, might still be a bit unsure about it all. Some of you at this stage might not be very interested at all. But to everybody here and watching on DVDs and video links, I want to throw out this challenge. Open your minds and your hearts, even more than you have already, to this man Jesus, who once shook the world up by what he said and by what he did, and who wants to shake the world up today by what you say and by what you do. We live in a great country, and Perth as a city and Western Australia as a state are great places to be. But when you begin to scratch the surface of our society, and maybe even the surface of your school and your circle of friends, and perhaps too your family, you can begin to see that not everything is as good as we would like it to be. Not just for ourselves, but for others as well. It's a bit sad, but it's also true that there will be some, and maybe quite a few, lonely and unhappy people in your school community. I'm sure too that there will be times when some of your friends are going through a tough patch and need someone to turn to. In your families, there will be moments of struggle and misunderstanding and sadness. And of course, in your own life too, from time to time, you will have to confront difficulties and disappointments and even failure. I hope that at such times you will find in your families and among your friends, in your school and in your parish, people you can turn to and people who can help. And it's that same hope that is at the heart of the whole LifeLink initiative. Because underpinning the whole program of LifeLink is the idea that as disciples of Jesus, we are meant, even when life might be a bit tough for us, we are meant to be the ones who reach out to others. While LifeLink itself is focused on educating people and of course on raising money so that the Catholic community in WA is in a position to offer practical help to those in need, the success of LifeLink depends on whether or not the members of the Catholic community, including everybody who's part of our Catholic school community, is really tuned in to the message of Jesus. In the light of that, let me mention just briefly one of the stories Jesus told to his followers. And I hope that this story might give you an idea of what I'm getting at. You'll know the story. It's the story about a poor man, Lazarus, who sits each day outside the gate of a rich man who lives in a large house and who has good food, good wine, and lots of servants to look after him. Whenever the rich man went out, the poor beggar, Lazarus, was hoping to receive something from him. A little food, perhaps some money to buy a meal, maybe just a kind word. But the rich man didn't even notice that Lazarus was sitting there. In the story, Jesus doesn't tell us that the rich man was vicious or dishonest or cruel. He tells us that the rich man was simply so wrapped up in himself, so intent on enjoying his good life, that he didn't even notice the poor man sitting at his gate. And it was for this that Jesus was very critical of the rich man. And in the story, which remember is only a story, not a piece of history, in the story, the rich man ends up in hell, while the poor man ends up in heaven. I wonder if you've worked out what was really wrong with the rich man. The rich man had eye problems. The rich man had ear problems. The rich man had heart problems. He didn't have eyes that could see the person in need. He didn't have ears that were tuned in to the cries of the one who was suffering. He didn't have a heart that either wanted to or even knew how to show love and compassion. He wasn't a bad man. He wasn't an evil man. He was simply an insensitive, self-obsessed man. And for that, he failed the basic test of humanity, which is also, of course, one of the basic tests of being a Christian. Am I closed in on myself, focused just on my own needs, intent on organising my life to suit my own wishes, or do I have a heart that can really feel for others? A heart that will drive me to do something for them. One of my hopes for LifeLink, especially in our Catholic schools, is that it will provide an opportunity for everybody in the school community, from the students to the staff to the parents, to get a bit of a health checkup. How are my eyes? Can they see the needs of others? How is my hearing? Can it pick up the cries, not always easily heard, of those who are suffering? And most importantly, what's the state of my heart? Does it beat strongly enough to push me out of my comfort zone and, unlike the rich man in the gospel story, actually do something practical to help, because deep down I know it's what I should do, but even more, deep down, where my best self can be found, I know it's what I want to do. To all of you then who are here this morning, and everybody watching on DVD or video feeds, I want to say that my special prayer for you is a prayer that comes straight from the Old Testament. It's a prayer where we ask God to give us a new heart, to put a new spirit within us. May God do that for each one of you, so that a spirit of generosity and enthusiasm, and I hope too a spirit of good fun and excitement, will be at the centre of everything you do to raise money for LifeLink this year, and that you'll find your hearts beating strongly as you begin to plan your fundraising activities and as you throw yourselves completely into those activities throughout the year. This was certainly the case last year, when so many school communities really worked together to raise an extraordinary amount of money, all of which has been put to good use in reaching out to those in need over the course of the year. And so I really do want to take this opportunity to thank all of those schools who contributed so generously last year. At last year's launch, I was able to announce the winners of the Archbishop's Spirit Award, and I'm about to do the same thing again now. There's supposed to be only one winner, but last year there were in fact two winners, and this year it's happened again. It's not because two schools raised the same amount of money. In fact, the Spirit Award is not given on the basis of the amount of money raised, but on the spirit. That is, on the commitment and the enthusiasm and the generosity with which the school community went about taking up the LifeLink Challenge. So it gives me great pleasure and great pride to be able to announce that the first of the two recipients of the Archbishop's Spirit Award this year is, and then you have a pause so that everyone can get excited, is Prendeville Catholic College. Let's give them a big round of applause. Prendeville College has been an enthusiastic supporter of LifeLink since its early days, and the whole school community really goes out of its way to involve as many of the students as possible in the various activities they sponsor. Last year, they were able to raise $10,000. It's a fantastic effort, so well done to everybody at Prendeville Catholic College. As I said, this year, as it was the case last year, there are two winners, and the second of the two recipients this year, another pause to build up the excitement, the second of the two recipients this year is Irene McCormack Catholic College. Now, I do want to assure you that it's not because you're hosting this year's launch that you've won this award, although I'm very grateful to the whole college community for doing that. But that's not the reason why you've won this award. It's because you really committed yourselves as a whole college community to the LifeLink task under the leadership of your principal, your deputy principal, and your director of ministry, and of course with the support of the whole staff. So I really want to thank you and to congratulate you. You took up the challenge that they put to you, and last year you raised just on $5,000. The amount of money matters, of course, because it helps us to do good things for other people. But the spirit which took hold of the college matters much more. So thank you very much. I just hope you can keep it up this year as well. Mr. Mendez, who organises these events, always gets a bit impatient with me because I speak a little longer than I'm supposed to. But this is such an important moment and such an important occasion for the whole Archdiocese, but of course in a special way for you here at Irene McCormack College, that I wanted to take the time to tell you how grateful I am to all of you, to every school that's contributed to LifeLink in the past, and to encourage you all to keep up your efforts so that there will be no more Lazaruses sitting at our gates desperately hoping for help as we walk past ignoring them. So thank you everybody very much.
Thank you, Your Grace. I would now like to introduce Irene McCormack Catholic College's second musical performance, The Wanderer, by U2 and Johnny Cash.
Without a soul,
Students now have the opportunity to ask Archbishop Timothy Costello any questions.
Your Grace, why did you choose to become a bishop?
Well, there's kind of a short answer and a long answer. I'll give you the short answer first. I didn't choose to become a bishop. In our church, you can choose to become a priest, or you can work out in your own heart, I guess, that you think God's asking you to be a priest. So you kind of put your hand up and then you go through all the training and you eventually become a priest. But you can't really volunteer to be a bishop. In fact, if you volunteered to be a bishop, your name would go right to the bottom of the list. What happens is that when the church needs a new bishop, then there's a whole process of consultation that goes on, and eventually a whole string of names end up with an archbishop in Canberra who's called the nuncio. He's the Pope's kind of diplomatic representative here in Australia. He puts those names together, sends them over to Rome. There's a group of bishops who go through all of the documents, all of the information. They come up with 3 names, and they put them in order, and they send them to the Pope. And then I suppose over his morning cup of coffee, he goes through the list and decides which one he's going to choose, and he makes the final choice. So it's not a case of choosing to be a bishop, it's a case of responding yes or no when the Pope asks you.
Oh, so, cool.
Thanks.
All right, we've got one.
Good morning, Archbishop. My name is Kimberly. I was just wondering if you could share with us your views on the Royal Commission that's operating currently.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. It's a very difficult topic, as everybody knows. The Royal Commission is looking into the sexual abuse of young people in institutions around the country, and of course one of those institutions is our own church, which is a very shameful thing to have to admit, but it's true. The first thing I would say is that the Royal Commission is actually a bit of a gift to, I think, not just the church, but to the whole country. Because as we know, we in our own church community have a very bad history in this area, and unfortunately we're not the only ones. So there's a big problem in this area, and I think the only way we could have hoped to deal with it, not just as a church, but as a society, is through something like a Royal Commission. So the important thing for us is to be very open, very honest, not hide anything, be prepared to admit, as I think we're learning to do, just how badly some of our leaders and some of our clergy and religious and church workers have failed in the past. So there's one part of it is to be open and honest and upfront about the terrible things that happened in the past, to do everything we can to help people who've suffered in this way to put their lives back together. And the other thing is to say to ourselves, and it's a job for certainly people like the bishops, but for every member of the Catholic community, to say to ourselves, whatever we have to do to make sure it never happens again, that's what we've got to do. So I'm glad you've asked the question, because it gives me a chance to say to everybody, we have a bad history, but we can have a very positive future if we all work together on this. So thanks, Kimberly, wasn't it, for the question. Good on you.
Yeah, as I was saying, I'm Dane. How long was your training to become an archbishop?
Well, as I was saying to the earlier question, that the question about being a bishop fits into the question about being a priest. So when I was about 22 or 23, I think it was, I made the decision I wanted to be a priest. And because I also wanted to be a teacher, I joined a religious order where the priests and the brothers teach and do other things, but also teach. So I joined an order called the Salesians of St. John Bosco. So it's 10 years training from when you start to when you get to be a priest. So it was 10 years training to be a priest. And during that time I did my teacher training as well. Then I taught for a while. I was an RE coordinator in a big boys' school in Melbourne, so all boys, no girls, but about the same size as Irene McCormack College is. So I did that for a number of years, and then I was sent overseas to do some further training in Rome. So I spent 2 years in Rome doing a kind of a master's degree in theology. And then I came back to Australia, and since then, until I became a bishop, I was teaching theology to young people and lots of other people too who were training to be priests. And then when I became a bishop, you'd think if took you 10 years to be a priest or to train to be a priest, you probably need 20 years to train to be a bishop. Well, Bishop Don could tell the same story. We got a week. We were sent to Rome, where all the men who'd been appointed as bishops in the last 12 months, they go to Rome for a week, have a couple of meetings with the Pope, have lots of lectures about what it is to be a bishop, and you're supposed to come home after that knowing all about it. We used to call it baby bishop school. So Bishop Don went to baby bishop school before I did, because he's been a bishop longer than me. But in a way, Kane, it's ongoing. You know, every day is like a new part of the training, because you learn new things. And yeah, great question though. Thank you. Your turn.
Your Grace, how long have you been a Archbishop for?
I became the Archbishop here in March of 2000 and... Was it March? I think it was March 2012. So 2 years as the Archbishop here in Perth, and before that I was 5 years as an auxiliary bishop in Melbourne. So 7 years as a bishop.
I got one here.
What's the highest amount of LifeLink money that you've ever raised?
Oh, that's a good... What's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob. It's a good question, Jacob. I don't know the answer to that. Perhaps Mr. Mendez might know the answer to that. 89,000. Okay, almost 90,000, Jacob, is the most we've raised in 1 year.
Okay, cool.
From LifeLink Day, yes.
Your Grace, what are your thoughts on what the Pope has said about gay rights and hell?
I think the Pope, he's making it very clear, I think, that everybody, no matter their situation, everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and with respect. Lots of people have different views about lots of different perspectives on Christian morality and all of those kinds of things. And certainly Pope Francis, at least so far, and I can't see it happening in the future, hasn't shown any desire to change the Church's teaching, and as Pope he really can't do that. But what he is saying to us is that the way we go about dealing with people, and whether it's people who are gay or whether it's people who are in all sorts of situations that we as Catholics might find difficult, what the Pope is telling us is that we have to treat everybody with dignity and with respect. Now, we've always known it, but Pope Francis seems to have the knack of putting it front and centre for us. It's one of the reasons why it's such a great gift, I think, both to the Church and to the world.
Your Grace, do you believe this is your, have you ever achieved your true purpose and meaning in life?
I think I'm in the process of achieving my true purpose in life. It's a really good question. It's actually a great question, isn't it? Particularly for those of you here who are in the senior classes at Irene McCormack, or anybody else listening in the last few years at secondary school. One of the things that we have to do, each one of us, I think, is kind of develop the habit of reading our hearts to work out what really matters to us. As I said when I was talking to you from up on the podium, you know, reaching out and helping others, for example, is not just the right thing to do. It's actually the thing that, when we get in touch with the best part of ourselves, is the thing that we actually want to do. So I think getting in touch with your heart is really a very important part of the process of achieving your true purpose in life, because that's where God works. That's where you'll find out what God's wanting. And for us as Christians, in the end, the path to happiness, fulfillment, to having the kind of life we want to have, is tied up with us working out where God's leading us. And in my case, and I must say it took me a while, as I said, I was 22 or 23 before I worked out that I wanted to be a priest, but in my case, that's how it was for me. I was going to teachers' college at the time. I had a girlfriend. You know, everybody presumed that my future would look like one thing, and it turned out that God wanted me to do something else. So I think it is, and that has to happen every day. We keep reading our hearts. What's God asking of me today? Where's God leading me today? And that'll be different for every single one of us. You know, there's no one answer to that question. Each person has to work the answer out for him or herself. But that's what the real purpose in life is, and that's what I'm kind of trying to do each day. So, yeah. I think there's a question up the front here too. We might take in a minute.
Your Grace.
Yes.
Is there any more things that we can do to help LifeLink? Any more?
Well, it's actually a bit of a hard question for me to answer because I don't probably know your school community as well as you guys do. So I think one of the best things you could do, maybe in your own class or amongst your own friends or in whatever other ways in which the college is structured, to ask that question of each other. What are the kinds of things that we could do that would help us to raise some money, that we would enjoy doing, that would be enjoyable, exciting, a bit of fun, not cause any trouble for anybody else, but would also enable people to contribute. So I'm not trying to avoid the question, but I think it's probably a question you and your friends and you know, the guys in your class, it's a question you probably have to ask and answer for yourselves and sort of build on what the college has done in the past. Look at what happened last year. What worked, what didn't work, what could we try this year that might be a bit different? So, yeah. Sorry, it's not exactly the answer, but it's the best I can come up with.
Good morning, Your Grace.
Good
I'm
morning.
Georgia Ridley and I'm from Brighton Catholic Primary School, and I'd like to ask you this.
Yes.
Have you ever met the recent Pope? And if you have, what did you think of him?
Well, the answer is very short because no, I haven't. The closest I got to the new Pope was when Bishop Don and I went to Brazil last year for World Youth Day. And of course, Pope Francis came to Brazil for World Youth Day. But Bishop Don and I were just two people among, 6 million people who were there. And to be really honest with you, I think the Pope, when he was in Brazil, was much more interested in meeting the young people than he was in meeting the bishops. So I haven't met him. I did meet Pope Benedict 3 or 4 times, and I also met Pope John Paul II once, I think. But no, I haven't met Pope Francis. But from what I see on TV and reading his stuff, I think he's a very impressive man. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Georgia.
Your Grace,
Oh.
do you think in the future there might be a woman priest or a woman bishop?
I don't think so. This is a question that's been debated in the church for a long time, and I know that other Christian traditions, like the Anglican Church, have a different point of view to us on this. It's a bit of a complicated question, but in the end, and I hope this doesn't sound like I'm avoiding the question, I don't mean to, but in the end, what's happened is that over a long period of time, and this question's come up in the church, you know, fairly regularly over the last 2,000 years. And every time it's come up in a different historical context, a different social context. But each time, in all those different contexts, as the church has thought about it and researched it and studied it, they've come to the conviction, which we can't always understand all that well, but they've come to the conviction that in God's plan, the way that the Catholic Church looks at this is the way God wants us to. Now, who knows what will happen in the future, but my instinct is telling me that the church has looked at it so often and gone into it in so much detail that it's got to a stage where it's pretty convinced that this is God's plan for the church. Why? We're not 100% sure. So there's a lot of work still to be done to understand what's the meaning behind this rather strange teaching, certainly strange to many people that only men can be priests. What's behind all of that? Now, we're not quite sure of the answer to that yet. But in the end, the church's task is to be faithful to what it believes Jesus is asking of it. And at the moment, that's our conviction. So I can't see it changing. but I'm not the Pope, so who knows?
Okay, well, last question.
Hello, I'm Corey. I'm from Brighton Catholic Primary School, and I would want to ask, have you ever thought that you would become an Australian Pope?
Oh, Corey, that's a great question. I've never thought about it, no. To become the Pope, I'd probably first have to become a cardinal, and we've already got a cardinal, an Australian cardinal, Cardinal Pell. And the next cardinal in Australia is probably going to be whoever the new Archbishop of Sydney is, and that won't be me. So I think the chances are pretty slim. And I must say, Corey, that when I became a priest, my brother and sister-in-law thought that was, one part of them thought that was terrific, but my sister teaches in a Catholic school in Melbourne, and she thought it might be a bit of pressure having a brother-in-law who was a priest. And then when I became a bishop, she thought it was even worse. So could you imagine what she'd say if I became the Pope? So I think if I became the Pope, my family wouldn't even let me in the front door anymore. So, but I'm not making light of the question. There are many people around probably 4,000 or 5,000 bishops, Bishop Don, around the world. So the chances of one from Australia becoming Pope are pretty slim.
Yeah, awesome.
But if I do, I'll invite you to the celebrations in Rome. I know. Good on you, Corey. Thanks.
I would now like to thank the Archbishop for his beautiful responses and introduce our college principal, Mr. Robert Marshall, to conclude the proceedings.
Your Grace, Archbishop Costello, certainly an Archbishop for the people of Perth, and you've demonstrated that this morning with the question and answer session. So once again, thank you very much for that. Also, Bishop Don, Ms Deborah Sayce from the CEO, invited guests, our great students and staff, are welcome to you all this morning. Today, we have been privileged as a school community to be host of this special event for the launch of 2014 LifeLink Day by Archbishop Timothy Costello. The privilege is not only to host this ceremony, but more so to recognise the efforts of students in schools who pray for and support people in our community who do not experience the same comforts and opportunities as most in our city enjoy. Today, we are focused on people who are homeless and lonely, those who suffer the traumas of domestic violence, people addicted to alcohol and other drugs, and also to the members of their families who suffer with them, people who live each day with hearing impairments, intellectual or physical disabilities, or mental illness. We also too think about our Aboriginal people and migrants in our community seeking accommodation and employment and facing other challenges. We also too pray and give thanks for all the volunteers and paid staff of LifeLink agencies for their compassionate work and support of these people who are in need. Thank you to all who have contributed to the fundraisers and other appeals that support the LifeLink agencies, and we encourage you to continue with this. I am sure that Irene McCormack's sister and brother, Bernadette and John, who are with us today, are very proud of our school community, which is inspired by Sister Irene's spirit of joy to serve the needs of others, to pick up the call of those who are suffering, and have the heart and courage to reach out and help. We also remember that Wednesday, the 21st of May, was the anniversary of Sister Irene's death in Peru in 1991. On behalf of the Irene McCormack Catholic College community, could you please join with me in thanking Bernadette and John for being here today. I wish to thank all our other guests who have joined us today. Mr John Quigley, great support, MP for Butler, who is a great supporter of schools in this area. Councillor Glenys Parker from the City of Wanneroo. Father Rainier from St Andrews, the representatives from our neighbouring schools, Mr Warren Smith and the students from St Andrews Catholic College, Miss Fiona Christie and the students of Brighton Catholic Primary School, Mr Barry Rose and the students from our neighbours at Butler College, the members of the Archdiocese staff, Mr James Parker and Mrs Kerry Carter, and our other college board members. Thank you to you all for being here today. We pay tribute to those who have worked to organise today's ceremony, and particularly to the LifeLink manager, Mr Brett Mendez, and Mr John Swindells, our college campus ministry coordinator, who have undertaken the planning and organisation. I think they deserve a big round of applause for their efforts. It is with a sense of pride that I thank all of our Irene McCormack Catholic College staff and students who have assisted with the setup for the ceremony, the music, the video presentation, catering for morning tea, and to our office and ground staff who work so enthusiastically behind the scenes for setting up. I'd love to have been able to mention you all by name. Thank you very much for your efforts. And if you can please keep your applause so that we can show our appreciation to our official guests, Archbishop Costello, Bishop Sproxton and Miss Deborah Sayce, for their presentations this morning. Your Grace, on behalf of all the members of the Irene McCormack Catholic College community, thank you for honouring us with the Spirit of LifeLink Award. It is recognition of the excellent efforts of our staff, the students and their families, and offers encouragement for us to do more for the Catholic welfare agencies supported by the LifeLink appeal. And to conclude, I invite our college captains, Hayley and Tom, to present you with a gift for the 2014 LifeLink appeal from our college community. This is the proceeds from our Irene McCormack Day held earlier this month. Tom and Hayley, would you please present a little gift to the Archbishop. Thank you to you all, and God bless you.